Hey guys, I am so excited to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Tyler J McCall. He is an Instagram and social media marketer, strategist, and coach for creatives and online business owners. And he teaches his students how to use Instagram with intention to grow their community online and grow their business. Thank you so much for spending some time with us today, Tyler.
Oh my gosh, Gwen, thank you for having me. I love you so much and love everything that you do, and I'm just so glad that you're letting me share with your people.
Awesome. Well, Tyler and I are actually friends, you guys. We text and we see each other and hang out in person. Not that, Instagram friends are bad, but I feel like when you take the relationship offline, it's real, right?
Yeah, I know, it's so good. I love it. And it's so funny too. I'm sure you have this all the time when people are like, "How do you know them?" And I'm like, "Oh, literally the internet, like Instagram. We met on Instagram," which is weird, but it's true.
Yeah, it's true. I feel like I met you before meeting you in person. I've known of you on Instagram already, and seeing your face all over definitely my feed and Facebook feed as well, which is a good thing, you guys, because, being more visible, that's how you connect with people. So, Tyler, first, for people who are not familiar with your background, can you just share your story on how you even got started on Instagram and kind of a little bit more about your business?
Yeah, so I got started on Instagram back in 2015, which feels like forever ago. But I was trying to figure it out, right? I had a blog, I had a home decor blog, I was running that. I had a handmade product that I was selling online and at craft fairs and things like that. And when I started my handmade business, the only place I really knew how to where I could sell was on Instagram. So this was back in the day before kind of influencers were really a thing like they are now, and it was when people were kind of figuring out the whole idea of influence back in 2014, 15. And what I would do is I was following these bigger home decor blogs and interior designers on Instagram, and I loved their content. And this was before stories or any of that kind of stuff. And we had a relationship on Instagram. And when I launched my handmade business, I just messaged them and I was like, "Hey, can I send you some of this product for you to try out and let me know what you think?" And they all said yes, which was the coolest thing ever. So I was able to send all of these people product, and they tried it out, and a lot of them shared it. I did it without expectation. A lot of them shared it, and that helped me grow that business. And at the time, I was working in the nonprofit world. I did that for a little over 6 years, and I was feeling pretty burnt out at my day job. So I started doing the side hustle thing. Then I got my first client managing their Instagram account toward the end of 2016. And just started creating content for them, running their account, growing their following, and then slowly but surely got a few other clients, left my full-time nonprofit job, and did the agency thing for about a year, running Instagram accounts for local businesses and national brands. And then was sick of that, so started doing coaching and consulting around Instagram and marketing strategy. And then we launched our community, the Follower to Fan Society, at the end of 2017, and that's what I do now. So we run an online membership site where we teach our particular approach to Instagram with more of a marketing lens on it, of kind of how to find the right people on Instagram and then build a relationship with them around your product or service, and then convert them into a fan of your brand on Instagram. Yeah, so that's my story. That's what I do.
That's amazing. So I love your concept of follower to fan, because everyone is really obsessed with the word follower and they need more followers. And I'm always like, why do you need more followers? And for influencers, we get judged by our followers if we want to work with brands. But it doesn't also necessarily mean that quantity is the best thing, because as we know, the rise of micro influencers and even nano influencers now is becoming a thing, because it turns out that the people with a lower number of followers have a higher engagement. So tell me, what is your distinction from the word follower to fan, and how can one convert their followers into fans more than just followers?
Yeah, definitely. So I think the distinction really comes down to the quality of the relationship you have with someone on these platforms. So it really starts with the understanding that getting someone to follow you or getting someone to like a post on Instagram is literally like the easiest part of Instagram. You know, like if you want more followers, you can engage more, you can use tactics and strategies to grow your following. You can buy followers. Like there's a million things you can do to get more followers. Some of them are better than others, right? But if you want more followers, then you can figure out a way to do that. And getting more likes is easy too, right? You can just post better content. But the real work, the real valuable work, especially for businesses and brands on Instagram, and especially for those of you who are hoping to build your influence in such a way that makes you an ideal partner for businesses and brands, is for you to have a following of people who are fans of you. And what I mean when I talk about a fan is that it's someone that has gone through the process of knowing who you are, they like who you are, and they trust you, that they believe that you have their best interest in mind. And that makes it so much, I think that's why we've seen this rise of micro and nano influencers, because when you have this smaller following, you can have such a higher level of trust because your relationships can be so much more personal. And brands see the value in that. Brands see that it's going to make so much more sense for them to invest in working with an influencer, regardless of their number of followers, who have a community of people who trust that person and who think, you know what, yes, they have my best interest in mind. I'm going to do what they say. I'm going to buy what they recommend. I'm going to go where they say that I should go or I would enjoy going, versus someone who just has a bunch of followers who knows if those are even the right kind of followers, if they're real followers, if they're engaged followers, if those followers even have buying power or are making buying decisions for their family or their home or their life or their business, right? All these things to think about. So that's the difference between a follower and a fan. A follower is easy to get, but getting someone to be a fan, it takes some work, it takes some effort. So the process that we like to take our students through and what we're really looking at is how do we take someone and we really establish a relationship with them that's rooted in shared values. So what are the values that I have as my brand, and what are the values that you have as a person that I can serve through my brand? And listen, even if you're using Instagram strictly from the perspective of being an influencer, like you're not trying to sell your own product or your own service, you're simply saying, I want to create content that is influencing and I want to partner with brands or businesses to get in front of people. And that's all you want to do, you're still a brand. You're still a brand on the platform, because there is something unique about you that you really need to define and understand about your brand on this platform. And that is rooted in your values. So what are your values? What is your audience's values? And where do those values intersect so they really understand that, yes, you have their best interest in mind. It's rooted in your story. So what is the story that you are sharing online? What are these key parts of you that you're sharing with the world? And how does that connect with your audience's story? So is that around maybe you and your audience? Maybe you're both moms. Maybe you're both pet owners. Maybe you both love to travel. Maybe you're an LGBTQ person. Maybe you're a person of color. Maybe you're a business owner, whatever it may be, right? Like, what are those kind of story moments that you can create and share with your audience? And then from there, you can start creating the content, right? So what I really encourage my community to think about, and I think for all of us, Gwen, I think we've kind of reached this place on Instagram where pretty pictures aren't really going to do it for you anymore, right? Like there needs to be some story, some substance behind the beautiful photos. So that's where when you start building out your content strategy, it needs to be really thoughtful and intentional with how are you really connecting with people, not just using post in the feed, using stories, using video, using all the features of Instagram to create this experience for people. And that's how you start turning your followers into fans. And the last thing I'll say about this is one thing we teach our students is how they can really start to understand their audience's engagement habits. So we really have to think about the fact that people are engaging on Instagram in a really particular way. And if we want to get them to do the things we want them to do, which for us, if we want to, as influencers, if you want to partner with brands and businesses, that means you need some proof of the effectiveness of the engagement with your audience. So that's likes, comments, DMs, clicks, those types of things. Those things don't just happen by accident. Those things happen on purpose. And you can actually train your audience to engage with your content in the way that you want them to engage. And you can layer these engagements on top of each other. So that's another important part of turning a follower into a fan. A fan will direct message you with hesitating. They'll engage with your Instagram stories without really waiting. They'll like your stuff. They'll comment on your stuff. And that's what we really need, especially as influencers. That's what we really need to make a big, to actually see the results, is have that really strong connection with our fans.
I love that, Tyler. Thank you so much for sharing those awesome tips. And I can see a lot of alignment with you, what both you and I teach. Is the branding and the story really matters. And you're right. Like I always tell my students, like pretty pictures, they're great, and they'll initiate the stop of it'll stop the scroll. Yeah. But what's beyond that, right? People can still stop and keep look for a moment and then keep going. But if there's no story behind it or no message behind it, then there's really no intention and no purpose. And it gets stale and old really quickly, especially like just those one-liners or one-word captions that don't really serve a purpose. And for me, it's like a missed opportunity to really connect with your fans, right? And really building that relationship with them. I feel like it's even like you are making friends. It's like having friendships with your followers, even if they don't know who you are personally.
Yeah, I love that. That's such a good way to think about it. And something I like to say too is that I think a lot of us are really confused about Instagram and its place in the world. And it really comes down to the fact that Instagram is not a photo sharing platform. It's actually never been a photo sharing platform. Instagram has always been a storytelling platform. And the way I like to think about this is think about how normal, everyday civilians are on Instagram, just like our normal people, right? So like our friends from college, our sister, our sorority sister, our neighbor, our boss, whoever it may be. Think about how they are on Instagram and what they're doing on Instagram. And they are on that platform just to share the moments of their life and to tell the story of their life, to share pictures of their honeymoon, to share a video of their dog doing something crazy, to share pictures of their kids or their food, whatever it may be, right? They're there to document the story of their life on this planet. So why is it, as influencers, as businesses, brands, do we think that we don't have to do that we think we're like exempt from the rules, that we think, oh well, yeah, people are really gonna love these like perfectly curated, beautiful, like everything has to be perfect and look at me and I'm like living a perfect life, like why do we think that's what people really want? Why can we not create this experience where it can be beautiful, it can be curated, it can be thoughtful, but it can also be real, it can be genuine, it can be honest, and it can be a moment of our life that we are allowing people to see, to support them, encourage them, inspire them, whatever it may be. And remembering that it's about the story. So it's what is the reason behind the photo, and how is that bringing value to your followers, whatever that goal may be with them.
That's such a great point that you bring up, Tyler, about, it can look pretty, but it also should be real. And I feel like it's our job as content creators to find that balance. So I totally get you on that one. So moving on to kind of what I really get a lot of questions on, because people always say, oh, I don't know if I could be an influencer. I don't look like an influencer. And that's funny to me because I've seen all types of influencers, and they think that there's this perfect mold of that Instagram model type persona that they're measuring themselves up against. So what would you say to people that are wanting to build an influence and build an Instagram following, but they feel like they don't fit the mold of what an influencer looks like?
Oh, such a good question. So I think the first thing is to recognize that, just like you said earlier, there literally is no mold. And I think the only thing that is limiting your ability to build a community online, to grow an account, to have influence on Instagram, the only thing that's holding you back from making that happen is yourself. Literally, that's the only thing. Because there are, and Gwen, I know you've seen them, there are the weirdest niche specific Instagram accounts out there. It's like the Wild West on Instagram when you get, like, y'all, people are getting paid. People are making money on Instagram, selling and making and selling slime. People are getting paid and making money by posting like carpentry videos.
And not just people, but animals.
Yeah, animals are getting paid. Like children are getting paid for reviewing toys. A very famous woman now, Dr. Sandra, has made a living off of popping pimples on the internet. Like,
I love her, Dr. Pimple Popper.
I love her too. So here's the thing, y'all. Literally the only thing that's limiting you and your ability to make this work is yourself. And these beliefs that you may have. And listen, I'm not saying they're easy. It's not like you can just flip a switch and they're gone, right? This takes work. And this is where the work of like owning a business and being a personal brand and being a thought leader or an influencer and like leading in your space, in your niche, this is where it takes some inner work. It's not just like Gwen said, it's like the pretty pictures only get you so far nowadays. It takes more than that. So this is where it really is for you to do some of that work and realize that there is unlimited potential for you on Instagram. That Instagram is growing every single day. It's the fastest growing social media platform that exists right now. That people from around the world are sitting at their house, at their office, wherever, looking at their phone, waiting for your content. Like literally waiting for your content, and that you have this incredible opportunity to speak directly to someone about something that is of value to them. And I think when you look at it like that, and this is how I approach Instagram now, different than how I used to do it. That has changed everything. And I remember that I'm approaching Instagram from this perspective, and this is a core value in our business of people first and people always. So I remember that it's always about the people. That they're not just numbers, they're real human beings sitting behind their phones, and that I have a duty, I have a responsibility to actually connect with those people and to share my story and to share who I am so I can inspire them and so I can teach them and so I can motivate them. And when you think about it that way, it kind of becomes this no-brainer of why would I hold back? Why would I keep this to myself when I have this ability to impact the world in a positive way and to help other people and to change people's lives? And even if you think like, well, posting a sponsored post from Target or United Airlines or for water, like even if you think like, how's that going to help someone? How's that going to help them live a better life? In some way that will inspire someone or motivate them or teach them something, right? And that's the incredible opportunity we have. And I like to think of it as not just an opportunity, but an obligation, a responsibility that we have to share with people online. I think the other side of this is realizing that you are literally the only you. And I know it sounds cheesy and you've probably heard that before, but there is something unique and special about you and your approach to doing this whole Instagram thing and this whole influencer thing. And even if you feel like it's been done or everyone else does it, or you don't look like everyone else, or you don't have the same skills as everyone else, or the same house, or the same travel, or the same whatever it may be, right? Like you still have something that is unique and specific about you that people need to hear and they need to see. And if you can think about that and recognize that you are going to be putting your own spin on it. Don't go into this and just look at what folks like Gwen and I are doing and just try and like replicate it and copy paste, because guess what? It's not going to work. Because I'm talking to my audience and Gwen is talking to her audience. And we both teach Instagram and our audiences are incredibly different. And we both have built successful businesses teaching Instagram to different audiences. And we even teach some of the same things and we even teach some things differently, right? But we've both built our businesses and we're both having impact. We're both inspiring other people to build their businesses and their brands and whatever it may be. So like, if we can do it, you can do it. Also, I'm not an Instagram model, y'all. Like, y'all ain't ever seen me with my shirt off on Instagram, and you're not going to. I don't do yoga. Like, I do the corpse pose. That's, like, the only one I do, right? I'm looking at Gwen, and I'm like, she's so cute, looking so cute in Hawaii, doing her yoga in front of a waterfall, where I was in Hawaii, like, the exact same time as Gwen, and I was literally, like, eating a hamburger by the pool with the shirt on. So, like, we're both influencers on Instagram doing the dang thing, and it's working. It's working for both of us. Like there's no mold you have to fit into to make this work, right?
Yes, so true. And I love that you're talking about this, because that's like the first kind of objection and belief that they have, that they have to fit into something. And I feel like this is the great thing about Instagram, is that you build your community, right? And we've talked about this a lot. Like, not everyone who resonates with Tyler is going to resonate with me, and not everyone is going to like me, and they're going to more resonate with Tyler, and that's okay. And we can both do the same thing, but attract different people. And that's why when people talk to me about like, isn't there enough like lifestyle influencers out there? I'm like, there's no one like me, because there's never going to be. And I feel like, yeah, it's easy to say now, but you have to build up that confidence. And if you've decided that this is the path you want to take, right, that you're going to have to, like you said, Tyler, do that inner work and really get out of the way, because it really is only us and our thoughts and our fears that are getting away from us being able to connect with those people and to serve those people and to make an impact.
Yeah, I love that. And I think another thing too is just recognizing that continuing to wait to do something is not going to make it easier. That if you were to say, well, you know what, I'm just going to wait another year and then I'll do this, do you not think that it will become more saturated in the next year, that it will become more popular, that there will be more people doing this in the next year? Do you not think that 5 years from now that this whole landscape is not going to be different, and that you can either keep waiting until you feel ready or you feel like it's the right time, or until you know enough, or you can just start now? And you can recognize that you're never really going to be ready, you're never going to know enough, it's never going to be the right time, that you can just start now and you can figure it out. And I think Gwen and I both have this, like, she and I have both been doing this personal work, this deep personal work in ourselves and our businesses for years now, to get our businesses to where they are now. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's not instantaneous, but I'm a heck of a lot more grateful that I started 2 years ago and that I am where I am now than I would have if I would have just waited 2 years and started now. And another thing that a friend of ours has said to us before is that the time's going to pass anyway. You might as well do something of value while the time is passing, and not just let the time pass you by and wait until later to do it. So I think that's another common thing I hear, Gwen. I don't know if you hear this too, is people are like, well, it's too late. Like, people are already doing it. I should have done it years ago. And my response is, yeah, you could have done it years ago, and you could be somewhere incredible right now. But waiting 2 more years to do it, or using that as an excuse, isn't going to move anything forward for you now. You might as well start right now.
Right. I love that you're touching on this, because people are so afraid because they think there's, too many people out there and it's too late. And when I talk to my students about this, because I'm sure you have to coach your students through this as well, is really like, if someone said like, oh, I'm never going to open another restaurant because there's too many restaurants out there. And that would be insane, right? Because what if this chef had something really special? And, I look for new restaurants all the time. I don't go to, the same restaurant every time. And then there's some restaurants that I like more than others. And it's this kind of like the same thing as like, what if someone said, oh, I'm never going to be a doctor because there's too many doctors, right? It's kind of that kind of ridiculousness that when you frame it in that way, it's like, why wouldn't you do it? You can serve your patients a different way. You can serve your customers a different way. And there's more than enough people to serve. It's not like there's only 1,000 people on Instagram and they're already following everyone else. There's literally, like you said, it's the fastest growing social network, and there's billions of people, and all of us follow at least like thousands of people, I feel like, on Instagram, unless you're a celebrity. And that's the thing. It's like, I think that it is doing that inner work, and something that has helped me, and I know, Tyler, you're a big believer in this, is really him and I have both invested in programs and coaches and mentors that have helped us kind of get out of these beliefs. Because sometimes when you're on your own and in your own head, it's hard to get out of it. And so, that's why, like, we have students, we have teachers, we have businesses, because there are a lot of people struggling with this. And if this is something that you're realizing is really hard to do on your own, then definitely, seek that help, that program, that coach. It doesn't have to be me and Tyler. It could be anybody. But that is something that has helped me. Tyler, can you share your experience with that? Was that something that helped you?
1,000%, yes. I mean, it was the realization that I could keep doing this alone, and I could maybe figure everything out I needed to know, but it was going to take a heck of a lot longer. So it just made more sense to invest the money and the time, the energy really to get my result more quickly. And I think it's the realization that for everything in our lives and businesses, we're always investing one of two things. It's either time or money. And we can always make more money, but we can't create more time. So I would much rather spend money to get the result I want more quickly than to spend my time, because my time in this body, doing this around this planet, whatever it may be, it's limited, right? Like, it's not going to go on forever and ever, but I can always replace that $10 or $100 or thousands or $10,000 that I spent on a program or course or mentor or coach or therapist or whatever it may be, right? Like, there's no right answer for doing this work. And I think it just makes the ability to get the result and to get where you want to be more quickly that much more feasible than just trying to kind of trial and error and do it yourself. So that's why I know Gwen and I both invest in online programs. That's why we have online programs. We invest in masterminds and coaches and events. And it's not cheap, right? But it's also not worth it for me to waste all my time in my business, in my life, trying to figure this stuff out when there's people who are a lot smarter than me that I can learn from.
Exactly. So I always share this with my students that it took me almost 5 years to get to where I am, but they could actually fast track it, right? Because now they can learn from me, knowing the mistakes I've made and what to avoid and what not to do, because someone's already gone there. And so I'm sure it's the same for you, Tyler, and your students, and also for our mentors. We are getting there faster because we're using their experience and their knowledge as a launch pad. So whenever my students are like, oh, is it going to take me the same amount of time? I'm like, no, it's going to actually go faster for you because I'm already giving you, the inside scoop on that, right?
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. And it's so cool that thanks to the internet and thanks to Instagram, folks like you and I can take years of experience and package that into an easy to digest and implement something for people. It's just incredible.
Right. And now that we're teaching other people to do this too, they could then in turn do that to, for their people and for their communities. And that's why I love teaching people who also have their own communities. And I'm sure you do too with your business owners, because we are now not just impacting one person, it's that person's community as well.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yay! Yay us!
Yay us! We're so good at this.
We're so awesome. Anyway, thank you so much, Tyler, for joining us. If you are not following Tyler on Instagram at Tyler J McCall, you are missing out. Definitely go check him out and leave a comment on his post letting him know that you watched this episode with me at the LA Girl. You can also tag Spark Society. And yeah, Tyler, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, Gwen, thank you so much for having me.
Bye.
Goodbye.